Maneco 64 here, going live a little earlier than 5 minutes earlier. See where the market closes this evening or this afternoon in the States. The title today is France in 2018 like Poland in 1989? Question, and then question mark, and then collapse of West imminent, another question mark. I mean, maybe many of you, of course, younger than I am, but I remember the late 80s very well. I was in my mid 20s or so, and I remember very well the fall of communism in Eastern Europe, and it was very sudden. And that's my question today: whether we're witnessing that in the West. Are we witnessing the fall of the fiat money system, of the welfare state? And is it guaranteed we're going to get something good on the other side of it if it happens? I don't know. I would hope so. So we've got quite a few people joining already here, 50 people. Hello, everyone. Nice to see everyone here. David Morsilli is here. Hi, Jessel. Hi, Pablo. James Andrew, 62. Good evening, James. Sanjit. Nice to see you. El Tomo. Hi, El Tomo. Have you got your yellow vest on, El Tomo? Rick W. Good evening. Lord Humongous. Sorry, I'm late. Had to get my. Well, I just tuned in, Lord Humongous. I'm a little early as well. Hi, Laura. Nice to see you here too. Pablo. Lurking is here. Let's have a look here. See, we've got a couple of minutes to the market closes, and we're actually almost 300 points off the highs in the Dow. Even though we're up here, we're up 170 just before the about a minute and a half into the close. Silver's doing well today. I was chatting to David before I went live on the comment section, and silver today it's done well. It's broken through yesterday's high, so we're continuing to see a good move. I think the key level in silver now to watch for is 1490. If we can break through there, that will be very, very positive, in my opinion. So where are we now? So we've got just under a minute to go. Looks like the Dow is going to finish quite strong, but way off the highs though. As I said, I've been saying in my videos lately, I still don't think the stock market is out of the woods. Yeah, there's all this talk about trade deals. Today there's a story from the Wall Street Journal saying that the Chinese were going to move in a way that was going to help the negotiations. But there are a lot of big ifs. The Wall Street Journal was speculating that the Chinese were going to move in terms of this strategy they have for Made in China 2025, and that. But the article on Zero Hedge said that people are still not convinced that the U.S. administration would buy into it. Hey, Water Shambles, nice to see you here. Wendy from New Zealand, must be quite early over there, Wendy. El Tomo, people were really pissed since signing of the UN treaty. People have lost a lot already. When they lose everything, they lose it. Yeah, that's what Gerald Celente always says. When people lose it, they lose it, and they've had enough. I think we could be, Brexit and the EU referendum here. That's another part of this possible implosion of the system. I think the globalists. Yeah, Billy is here today. I think the globalists, they want to bring the system down, but they want to bring it down so they can institute the New World Order or like one world government. But they're all of a sudden they're saying, "Oh no, we've got Donald Trump and we got Brexit and now we've got the Gilets Jaunes." That's a problem because the Gilets Jaunes, if you look at it, they are against Macron, and Macron is the poster child for globalization in France, in my opinion. The problem is if the system does implode, if the Macron government collapses, if here in the UK, it looks like Theresa May is playing it on. She's like a Remainer. She's trying to, in my opinion, in the opinion of many, I've been listening to the Nigel Farage show on LBC this evening. And there's a lot of people calling in and saying, she's hijacked this Brexit. She's a Remainer, and she's trying to sabotage. And I think that's what she's trying to do. And apparently, even the Chancellor of the Exchequer today, who's like the Treasury Secretary equivalent in the UK, Philip Hammond, apparently he said that Brexiteers are right-wing extremists. Which is rubbish because in 2017, when there was the election, the manifesto for the Conservative Party was to Brexit. So now he's saying that Brexiteers are radicals and extremists. So it looks like there is a fight here. The New World Order, the Rothschilds, they're trying to stop the Gilets Jaunes in France. I think what happened in Strasbourg, that's questionable. It's detracting a lot of attention from the Gilets Jaunes, but I don't think the yellow vests are gone. They'll come back. So, yeah, it looks like Theresa May, they're having a confidence vote on her leadership, and she's going to win it. I don't know if that's going to be positive. I think, it's just going to be more and more uncertainty. So she's won the confidence votes. It's just come out now. But I don't think this country is out of the woods yet in terms of Brexit. I think the people who voted to leave are getting very, very angry. And the other thing I see here is that 117 of the 317 conservative, Tory MPs voted against her. So, yeah, she's really, and she was, don't forget, yesterday she was supposed to have a vote in Parliament on her deal with the EU. And I saw today that Jeremy Corbyn, the leader of the opposition Labour Party, said, we need to have this vote. And now, is she going to have this vote? So things are not great here either. I think people could get angry here in the UK, especially the people that voted to leave. Let's have a look here. The stock market just closed. Let's see. So, yeah, the Dow finished way off the highs. It finished up 157 or so. So 0.64%. So it finished around 24,527. The high was 24 in the 800s. So it was way off the highs, and we're down now here on the aftermarket. So yeah, that was. Yeah, I think that was kind of really silly. It doesn't mean anything that she's going to stand down before the next election. We could have a next election very soon. So she could be out, if there's it's going to be hard now. Maybe, there might be a confidence vote on her government, and that has to be called by the opposition, not the Tory MPs. No, the 26. Thank you for the thumbs up, everyone. We got 28 thumbs up. Be nice to see more. 152 people watching. So, yeah, the title of this live stream is is France in 2018 like Poland in 1989? Collapse of West imminent. So, I mean, I was in my early mid 20s in the late 80s, late 80s. You know, when the things that happened, you know, started out in Poland and moved, you know, to other countries. It's called the Revolutions of 1989. I'm going to read here a little bit from Wikipedia. It says the revolutions of 1989 formed part of a revolutionary wave in the late 1980s and early 1990s that resulted in the end of communist rule in Central and Eastern Europe and beyond. The period is sometimes called the Fall of Nations or the Autumn of Nations, a play on the term Spring of Nations that is sometimes used to describe the revolutions of 1948. And it says the events are of the full-blown revolution first began in Poland in 1989, continued in Hungary, East Germany, Bulgaria, Czechoslovakia, and Romania. One feature common to most of these developments was the extensive use of campaigns of civil resistance, demonstrating popular opposition to the continuation of one-party rule and contributing to the pressure for change. Romania was the only Eastern Bloc country whose citizens overthrew its communist regime violently. Yeah, that was Ceausescu. I remember that very well. We saw, you know, television pictures of him against the wall. He was killed with his wife, I think, Nicolae Ceausescu. He is the president of Romania. Yeah, and I remember, because when I finished university in Switzerland, I didn't get my job at the small private bank right away. So one of the winters in Switzerland, I actually got a job with at a ski resort. One of my brother-in-law's friend ran a ski school at like a German club. It's like a version of the Club Med called Robinson Club. And I was teaching skiing to little kids. I was a pretty good skier, but I'm, you know, so I taught skiing that winter. And in this Robinson Club, it was in Switzerland, but it was German run. And I remember the cook for the club. His name was Lutz or Lutz, German guy, very nice. And we used to meet at late, you know, after dinner, you know, after the day ended, had a few drinks and talk. And Lutz, you know, he told me the story. He was actually from East Germany originally. And this was in 1989, winter 88, you know, 88, 89. And you know, I think the Berlin Wall fell later on in '89, and you know, communism collapsed later on in '89. So here we are. You know, he was telling me how he escaped from East Germany. He actually had to run through the border at night. You know, with the risk of being shot at. And I remember us talking. You know, how it's amazing that this is still going on, you know, that East and West is still divided. And then a few months later, everything imploded. So it was really, you know, it was nice to see, you know, Eastern Europe actually open up, but it was a surprise because most people thought that even though we knew that the East and communism was not a great system, we thought that the authorities there, the establishment, had a strong stranglehold on things, but they didn't, and it imploded very quickly, and most of it bloodlessly, with the exception of Romania. And I'm trying to think now whether what's happening, you know, has been happening in the UK with Brexit, what's happening now in France, and the fact that it's kind of spreading to other countries like Brussels, Belgium, even Holland and Germany. If this is like a repudiation of globalization and this, how can I say, central bank run debt-based system, which pumps up the welfare state, the corporate state, I'm wondering if this is the end of it, because some systems like this that are not sustainable, they don't go on forever. The only problem with trying to predict and maybe guess if this is going to happen is what will come out in the other end, of this crisis. Uh, it's the same question they were probably asking in Russia, the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union collapsed a couple of years later in 1991. There's a lot of how can I say, mayhem in the Soviet Union. A lot of people died. A lot of people were against it. But looking back, I would say Russia is in much better shape now by having changed than if they had stayed communist. And it hasn't been smooth because we've had quite a few changes in leadership. We've had the oligarchs. So ideally, I would say, is if we get smaller governments and people realize that the solution is not to have more and more government to solve the problem of more government. I think the globalists, the New World Order, they want the solution that we don't want, and we need to guard against that. So Trump, yeah, I think the thing about Trump, I'm still not. Some of the people he has got in his cabinet and his administration, like Pompeo, some of the things he says, makes me think, is this guy really against the globalists and the New World Order? But yeah, hopefully he is. Dr. Honeypot says, so you guys can, ask questions if you want, and I'll try to answer it. I'll try to continue talking a little bit about this theme that I have about whether we're experiencing, the collapse. Uh, I think we are. The question is, what will come after the collapse? The globalists, they want, their world government, nation states, just disbanded or with very little power. But they've got to fight, I think. They do. Trump in the US, the Brexit movement in the UK, maybe the Yellow Vests in France. I don't know. I saw some signs in the demonstrations in France with a Frexit, FRE, exit, French getting out of the EU. I saw some people chanting, "We want Trump" in France. So I don't know. It's very, very confusing. It's very uncertain times, in my opinion. David says, I think New World Order and the globalists are different. I see. So you don't think they're the same? All right. Maybe you can elaborate. Svolo, hello. Slovakian guy living in Switzerland, Zug, says, hello, 1989 was tough. I was a kid when all that shit got loose. Yeah, I was in Switzerland at the time, living in Switzerland. I was about 26, so I was grown up. I was kind of, we were fine in Switzerland, but I thought to myself, well, this is going to be a huge opportunity for Eastern Europe in terms of investing and opening up, the free market, and it has been. I mean, I don't think you would argue that Slovakia is not better off than it was probably when you were younger, but I might be wrong. You can tell me what you think. There's a lot of people here tonight. 181. Libra Frost are globalists, equal warmongers. Yeah. The Rothschilds have bowed and will now be at the mercy of crypto. We'll see. So, no, don't panic, remain calm, just keep stacking. That's a good strategy. Yeah, look after yourself, be honest with yourself, look after your family. Cohen will be one of the easy clubs. Yeah, I think he was arrested. He's going to go to jail, right? Trump will resign soon to save his business. 22 trillion. Yeah, I was looking at the US debt clock. It's very close to 22 trillion. Seems to be skyrocketing. Simon added the collapse of the US dollar will be worse than total all-out nuclear war. Well, yeah, the collapse of the dollar system is the collapse of the whole world monetary system, because we are on a dollar system and every other fiat currency is backed by the dollar. So you're right. Dr. Honeypot, I work at a sandwich shop in the USA and we sell a chicken bacon ranch was $8.05 after tax just before the start of the month. Now it's 8.80. Wow, that's an expensive sandwich, I have to say. Nine, almost $9. My wife went shopping today and she bought some sauce. It's like a peppercorn sauce. It comes in a plastic bag for the steak. And she said she could buy two of those bags for £2. And now she bought one for £1 29. So that's a 29% increase. Simon Atta, Mario, are you related to the Queen? I don't think so. No way. Lord Humongous says globalism is communism based. It will fail. Of course it is, because it was the globalists who, created communism. They financed Trotsky. They financed Lenin. All those guys. Lenin spent 15 years in Switzerland. He was financed by these guys, and most of the revolutionaries were living in New York City, and they were all financed by the Wall Street and the City of London. Yeah, the West was infiltrated by the same people that infiltrated the Soviet Union. So I think, yeah, maybe that Economist cover 2018, collapse of the system. This is what we're starting to see now. Thoughts on the vote of confidence? Hi, Benjamin. Yeah, I was listening to LBC show that earlier this evening. Nigel Farage, he said the conservative MPs have no backbone. They're not really voting for the good of the country or for the people who voted. So they didn't want to rock the boat. So they voted for her to stay as leader. But I saw that 113 people voted against her. Almost. Well, not half of the MPs. There's 317 Tory MPs, but can she really run the show? First of all, the Tories don't have a majority without the DUP, which is a Northern Ireland party, and then 113 of her own MPs don't have any confidence in her. So I think it's negative, and it's normal, because I was looking today at Theresa May's Wikipedia, and I'll read it here for you guys. Early career, and this says it all. She's been brought in to hijack, or how can I say, what's the word? Sabotage, the Brexit. It says between 1977 and 1983, May worked at the Bank of England. So she worked at the Bank of England for 6 years. And from 1987 to 85 to 1997, she worked as a financial consultant for Association of Payment and Clearing Services. So she was involved with banking for 20 years, and a third of those years she worked for the Bank of England. So you can bet that she's there to sabotage, Brexit. Not me. Thank you for the super chat donation. I appreciate it. Not me says thanks, Mario. You're welcome. So Yeah, I mean, a lot of the callers to the Nigel Farage show tonight, and I don't listen to that show at all. I've only been listening to it this week because there's so much going on. And I wanted to keep abreast of it. But a lot of people called in, and they voted to leave and stuff. But they thought that maybe voting for her to stay would be the best thing. They even think that it might lead to a no deal exit, which would be what they really want. But all I can say, it's very uncertain, uh, and they making it very difficult for the UK to leave. And I think one of the reasons the EU is doing that, and the establishment here, is because they don't want other countries, like France, to think about, the Great Britain is left now, and it wasn't that hard. Why can't we do it, right? So it could start a domino, just like the protests in France could start a domino. Huh. Simon is probably Jacob Rothschild, like you said, or Evelyn de Rothschild, who's also, Evelyn de Rothschild was a very close friend of Gordon Brown, so these guys are all connected. So yeah, there we go. Theresa May, she's a City of London person. She even, a lot of the callers were saying that she's a liar and she's lied many times, and they gave proof of it. And in the beginning, Nigel Farage said, well, those are strong words. I would say she's misled people. But then another caller called and said she's lied. And then he said, I have to agree with you. So that's what she is. Andrew Skelton, don't underestimate the senior civil servants who get paid more than the prime minister about who's pulling the strings. I agree. Yeah, it's like the deep, uh, it's the shadow, it's the deep state. It's the people who are always there. It doesn't matter what government is in power. They're the civil servants, and like Andrew said, I think they benefit a lot of it from this European system, is big government. One one thing I like to say though is that two of the Brexiteers MPs who are very much against leaving and even having a no deal. One of them is Jacob Rees-Mogg. Some of you might have heard of him. The other one is called Steve Baker, these two MPs. And Steve Baker, I recommend people listen to him. Steve Baker he's a proponent of a gold standard and sound money. He's even had a discussion 4 years ago in Parliament about going back to a gold standard. He talks about the production, of money and how it's completely corrupt nowadays because money is created out of thin air by banks issuing loans. So that's encouraging. Jacob Rees-Mogg, his father was an author. He was the editor of the Times of London. William Rees-Mogg, he's died. But this is the 3-volume set of books he published, and it's called The Case for Gold. You see, that's Jacob Rees-Mogg's father who published that. So Jacob Rees-Mogg is close to this guy, Steve Baker, who's also a proponent of sound money. That's encouraging, but we'll have to see, how things work out. Israel in the Middle East. Yeah, the watcher says Theresa May is just running the clock out. Yeah, I think they just want to delay it, and people will get so sick of it that they're going to say, she's just doing it. She's doing, I think, a great job um, for the establishment, and that's she's a deceiver. She says that she's doing the best for the people who voted to leave, but she's not. And I think people realize that. Uh, Someone called Nigel Farage and said, maybe people are going to get angry and start protesting. And he said, well, the English are not like the French, but I beg to differ. Like Gerald Celente says, when people get, lose everything, they get angry, they lose it. And even the British would do that, I think. Victor Dubica, what do these flags mean behind you? Please be honest. Well, when I started doing my videos, I only had the Union Jack flag, or the Union flag, because I live in the UK, and my wife bought that a few years ago, and I started making my videos, becoming very popular. Most of my viewers are from the US, so they asked, why don't you have a US cushion? And the third most popular country that for views is Canada, and that's why I got the flags. There's no agenda there, so that's why, being honest. And actually, someone asked me, and Billy likes to lay down next to him. Someone asked me about a French pillow the other day, one of the viewers, a comment, and I've actually ordered the pillowcase with the French flag. So I'll put the French flag up soon when I get the pillowcase, to support, the movement to hopefully, get smaller government in France, get rid of the New World Order puppet there. What's his name? Emmanuel Macron. He earned, I don't know if you guys know, he worked for 2 years for the Rothschild Bank, and he earned 3 million euros working for 2 years of them. And then he's gone in to become, president. Yeah, Andrew, that's a really good debate, isn't it? I was listening to it. I've listened to it a few times, and it's funny that there's not many people there at that debate. It just goes to show how people, these politicians don't care about that. Yes, no, she survived with 200 votes in her favor, but it doesn't really mean much. I think, she still got 113 or 17 votes against her, which is not good for a government that doesn't even have a majority in parliament. Maybe I should buy a yellow vest, make a video into the yellow vest. Oh, the other thing I wanted to talk about is about the 117 against 200. Yeah, there's 317 Tory MPs, so 200 plus 117. That makes sense. Oh yeah, Andrew says he likes the. It's behind me here. There, with the that. Oh, the flag of Wyvern. That's the flag of Wessex there. And I've got one pillow with all different flags of the world as well. Oh yeah, RR. I was going to talk about that. The ECB. I saw a really good article here on Zero Hedge a couple of days ago. It's called Mario's Hell. Not me, but Mario Draghi, the president of the ECB. And I'll put it here for you guys to see. It's called Mario's Hell. It's basically saying, that, look at the economic malaise in France, GDP, the last GDP data for Germany, quarter on quarter, it was negative. All the indicators are pointing to an economic slowdown in the Eurozone, the countries that have the euro in the EU. That the ECB's printed trillions of euros in the last 4 years. They've kept interest rates at negative 0.4, and Mario Draghi of the ECB has got nothing for it. And he's been saying that they're going to end the QE at the end of this year, and that they're going to start raising rates next summer probably. and it's going to be a disaster for the euro and the eurozone. And if things continue to get worse economically, how is he gonna, he's gonna lose all credibility, and he's gonna have no firepower. Is he? And people are seeing that it doesn't work. The all the money printing, all the rates at negative have done nothing for the European economy. So that's another thing that's very important. I think that could continue to hurt. We're starting to see the social consequences of all these policies. And of course, in the mainstream media, the politicians, of course, the mainstream economists, they're not going to say it's because of what the central banks have been doing. They're not going to say that it's because of all the debt that had to be conjured up out of thin air to bail out the banks in '08. They're not going to talk about, the fact that this zero rate, negative rate money printing is actually hurting things. They're not, they're gonna blame Brexit. They're gonna go blame populists. But these are just the symptoms of the problem. Uh, we hardly ever hear anyone actually bring up, the fact that it's all to do with the monetary system. But I think people are waking up to it. You listen to the people in France who are protesting. They're saying that their standard of living is going down. Their wages can't keep up with the cost of living. So they're realizing there's inflation there, and you know, uh, monetary repression. What's monetary repression? Well, it's when central banks manipulate interest rates lower. They print money to give it to their banking friends, and the people don't benefit from it. And pensioners and people with more older people, they don't get a return on their money either. And they lie about inflation. Inflation is going up by 5, 6, 7, 10%, and they say it's only going up by 1.5 or 2. Yeah, that's right. Our only banks and big corporations get saved, and I think that's one of the complaints. I heard one of the guys in France in an interview in TV, one of the leaders of a party there saying, when we want more money, we don't get it, but we gave hundreds of trillions to the bankers of taxpayer bailout. The wrong Mario is in charge of the EU. Yeah, Mario for UK Führer. uh, Boy. Oh yeah, the other interesting thing about and Jacob Rees-Mogg, he's an interesting character because he's quite what they call in the UK posh. He's upper class, but he's very honest and clever guy. And his father, William Rees-Mogg, who published these books, The Case for Gold, which I told you about, really nice books. And he basically put excerpts of people like Mises, Rothbard, all in here. Um, so what I was, I lost my train of thought there now about, yeah, anyway. Uh, RR says, in my opinion, people are waking up. Yeah, that would be good. I think they are. And I think young people are waking up. Young people, I don't think they watch that much mainstream media. They watch, they go on social media, YouTube. So they get more access to this kind of information that I'm giving, hopefully. We'll see. I mean, some people note that during the U.S. Revolution, against the British American Revolution, only really almost just about 5% were really for that, but it led to the whole thing change, right? Chris Gamer, yeah, I've asked that question about the U. It wasn't a U.S. bank; it was a British bank, HSBC. He says, "Why don't they get sanctioned? Why he they dealt for Huawei and Iran? Well, HSBC they've dealt for Mexican drug lords a few years ago, and for Iran as well. They only got a slap and a fine that didn't really hurt them, but no one went to jail." The Libra fraudster says, "Trust me, the youth are asleep." I don't know. I don't necessarily think that. Some of them are, but I've watched some of the live streams from Paris, from We Are Change. There's a lot of young people there, people of all ages. I've even seen like a 80-year-old pensioner, retired guy, protesting. All kinds of people. I saw someone on a in a wheelchair protesting in France, and the police pushed him off the wheelchair. So, I don't know, if people, maybe people. I agree with you. Some people are oblivious to it, but you just need a few people to start, and and things, like in the. I think the same thing happened, in Eastern Europe during the fall of communism. There's a few people that started it, and then it just spread. And I remember reading a story about these people in East Germany. They said that before communism collapsed, that when they used to walk their dogs at night, they used to talk about the system, and they had no hope. And then when it actually collapsed, everyone is saying, "Wow, we were all wishing for this." Maybe people subconsciously know this, but not all of them express it like we do. Yeah, Ben, I think the change will come mainly because the system that we have, the fiat money, debt-based, fractional reserve, welfare, warfare system is strangling the public. France is a symptom of that. The UK is a symptom of that. The US is a symptom of that. The rest of the West is a symptom of that. And systems like that, they can keep going on for a while longer, but they're not sustainable. And the system itself will bring itself down, just like communism imploded on itself. The question we should ask ourselves is, hopefully, we'll get something better on the other side. We need to be vigilant, of course. We'll get smaller government. Yak Maneco, by the way, greetings from Bulgaria. Oh, hi, Yak. Nice to see you here. I guess Bulgaria was, part of that, revolution of 1989. They were communist run. Back to the gold standard. I agree, RR, and back to 100%. You know, gold backing, 100%, not 40. Fractional reserve, I think, is needs to be outlawed. Honeypot. In this book here, uh, volume 3, in the case for gold, William Rees Mogg, talks about, not he doesn't talk about that, but he's published, Rothbard's the case for 100% gold dollar. Because money is like a commodity, and if you deposit your commodity with someone that safe keeps that commodity, i.e., a bank, he can issue a promissory note for that commodity. But it's a fraud, and it's counterfeit, and it's a crime to issue a promissory note for something that they don't have. So, and that's basically what our system is based on. But it's taken as normal, fractional reserve banking. I mean, at university, when you learn about economics, they talk as if it was normal. Well, we have fractional reserve banking, but they don't say that it's actually a crime and it's fraudulent. Relaxing Woody. So who would lead us for better of the people should have majored society change? Johnson, Boris Johnson, Jacob Rees-Mogg, Jeremy Corbyn. I mean, yeah, getting rid of the lot, that would be the best thing. But out of those three, I would say I prefer Jacob Rees-Mogg. Corbyn, he's a Marxist, communist. Uh, you know, and if I was selfish, I would want him to come to power. And why do I say that as being a free market guy? Well, because he would ruin the economy so much that gold would go through the roof. Gold would do very well, but it wouldn't be in the interest of the country. Uh, or it might be because he could just like screw things so badly that it would clear the decks, so to speak. So who knows? I think Mog would be. I don't like. I don't know about Boris Johnson really. He's don't trust the guy. Jacob Rees-Mogg, I'm not sure. It's difficult to trust politicians. But from what I have listened to him say, and he seems like a reasonable person. But who knows? Victor's Dubica, Mario Fall of Communism was engineered. Yeah, you're probably right. These people engineer a lot of the crisis, and they're probably engineering this one as well. All I'm trying to say is that uh, we could change the outcome. What comes after the crisis. So they might engineer it, but you know the 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 after the crisis, maybe we could hijack it from them and make it better. Who knows? I think, yeah, a lot of these crises are engineered. Is Greece going to improve? Kiri Tanasuli. Well, a few years ago, Varoufakis got elected, and that group, I don't know who's in power there now, but they gave in to the bankers. Greece has been run by the ECB. Greece needs to default on all the debt and go back on a silver. I think Greece has a lot of silver. I think I've heard people say you should go, get silver. But Greece is a small country, so they can push Greece around, unfortunately. Yeah, Corbyn is a lunatic. I agree. I agree with some of the things he says about the banking system, though, but I totally disagree with his Marxist views of, philosophy. I'm for free market, small government, rule of law, sound money. It's very simple, and I don't think he would be for that. I think Jacob Rees-Mogg might be for that, especially that seeing that he's very closely allied to Steve Baker, an MP who's for sound money. So we'll see. Are you storing extra food in case of hard Brexit? RR asks. No, I haven't done that yet. No, I don't know if I'm going to do it. It would only happen, at the end of March. So maybe, yeah, I'm not really thinking about that at the moment. I don't think it's as bad as people make it seem. I listened to Jacob Rees-Mogg today, and he said this is all, Operation Fear, because we would have the World Trade Organization system if there is no deal. On March 30th, everything would be fine. There might be some disruption, but it won't be the end of the world. And I think he's right. Yeah, Alex Tsipras, he kind of he looked like he was the real deal, and he just bent over for the bankers, and so yeah, he's not really. He's a leader in name only. I think I haven't really followed too much of what's going on in Greece. I just know that after what happened after the election there a few years ago, he just you know, let the bankers do what they wanted. Yeah, I think a hard no deal Brexit or hard Brexit is the best way to leave the EU. Any other way, it wouldn't be, the UK wouldn't actually be leaving the EU, and I think that's what they're trying to do. Andrew Skelton says Rees-Mogg's Parliament debut speech mentions the great Alfred Anglo-Saxon common law king and rule of law and golden rule. Wow, that I didn't know that. And that's really good. And Jacob Rees-Mogg as well. He's a Catholic, actually. I think a Roman Catholic. I don't think there's ever been a Roman Catholic prime minister, but there's always a first. I don't think it's a problem these days. Roman candle. Are here in Virginia, some farmers take silver coins for food. That's good. No, politicians usually cave in when they get a truckload of money off of them. Yeah. Andrew Skelton, constitutionally, there can never be a Catholic king or queen. Yeah, but there can be a prime minister. I don't think is a problem. So, what else have I looked at today that I wanted to talk about? Yeah, there's a good article on Zero Hedge about the riots in France and not just about taxes. And I've spoken about that, the fact that it's about people feeling hard up, with inflation and the cost of. The other thing they talk about is that France, the problem with France as well, is that it's been a very socialist country. Now they're running out of money, and I think the Macron, and I'm not like defending him, he's trying to like wean the French people off the socialism, but more towards a globalist thing. But he's not doing it through cutting taxes and making the government smaller. He's doing it by making it bigger, and that's what people don't like. Rees-Mogg equals Postman Pat. He does look like a bit like him. Yeah, Mickey O. There's a lot of people that think that Britain should just do a hard exit. There's the people who got the enough letters. They got 48 letters to get the confidence vote for on Theresa May. They were the hard Brexiteers, but the majority of Parliament isn't for that. That's the problem, you see. So Parliament, and I think it should be because the referendum was on to leave or stay, and there's no ifs or buts. But they're like making it complicated because the establishment doesn't want uh, the UK to leave the EU. Yeah, I agree. Just me, France and Germany. Nothing happens without France and Germany agreeing with it, with what's going to happen. Is the market reversing? Let's have a look, see what we're doing here. No, not that much. I mean, the Dow is down 28 at the moment. So The pound is got up to 126.76 today. It's drifting back down. Is at 126.18, but it's still up 1%. The cable pound versus the dollar, and some people look at the pound versus the euro, but I look at it against the dollar because the dollar is still the reserve currency. So it's a better indicator, I think, of the health of the pound because we need dollars to buy a lot of the stuff, raw materials. Clinton whistleblowers, Thursday public hearing to review explosive information. Well, we've been waiting for a lot of explosive information, for arrests to come. I'm not holding my breath. Let's hope it comes out. I've known about the criminality of the Clinton family for many years. I was watching on YouTube like 10, 15 years ago about what they did in Arkansas. So I've known this. This is not a surprise to me. I've known this for many years, how they worked with the Bushes, at Mina when he was governor, and all the body counts, Clinton body counts. So I've known it for many years. But, people don't, sometimes when the truth is too extreme, it's like a ray of light, people look away. They don't want to look at it. The truth hurts. Libra fraudster. The thing is, globalism is inevitable. Hard Brexit, soft Brexit. The only difference is time. The EU, WTO are two sides of the same coin. Yeah, I agree with you partly. Yeah, um, I think in a world of free markets, sound money, you wouldn't need a WTO. You would just have free trade and sound money, comparative advantage. WTO is a very globalist institution. I agree. Andrew Skelton, the Yellow Vests have support from ex-generals like General P. Kamau, who lead the Foreign Legion 94 to 99. Is that a good thing, Andrew, or not? I'm not sure. Does that mean that it's kind of controlled opposition? I don't know. Mickey, oh yeah, Deutsche Bank or Deutsche Bank is up 8.4%. Yeah, I saw there's talk that the German government wants Deutsche Bank and Commerzbank to merge, two biggest German banks. There's funny names like you call Deutsche Bank Deutsche Bank. My wife calls RBS the Royal Bank of Skullduggery, which is Royal Bank of Scotland. Or Goldman Sachs, you can call it that. We've come up with a name for JP Morgan, JP Moron. I remember when I worked in the city, the French bank called Credit Lyonnais. We used to call them Debit Lyonnais. So, yeah. Yes, Alfredo, I heard about that. 6 months of supply in case of terrorist attacks on the grid. R. Sanchez, yellow vest equal collar revolution. Yeah, and we have to be skeptical sometimes, suspicious about these collar revolutions because sometimes, a lot of times, it's George Soros behind them. You never know these things. It's really hard. They've really screwed us, haven't they, with the cognitive dissonance? It's just debit mayonnaise, yeah, or debit Lyonnais. Credit Lyonnais, debit Lyonnais. I don't know if there's a credit mayonnaise. There is a region of France called Mayonne. I think that's where mayonnaise is from. Victor's Dubica, your thoughts on Maduro teasing with petro crypto? I wouldn't trust a cryptocurrency from his Maduro's government. It's just I've ignored that. I haven't really looked into that. Andrew Skelton, Picamau wants France to retain its culture and is against the Immigration Pact, UN Immigration Migration Pact, Marrakesh Agreement, and anti-globalism. Well, that's good. I listened to a video today. An MP, member of Parliament in Italy. What was her name? Georgia Meloni, and she's from a party, the Brothers of Italy, Fratelli d'Italia, and she was talking about this UN migration, and she said, this is a Soros, thing, and she made a really good speech. So people are waking up, not people are not asleep. Oop, what's happened there? Libra fraudster Mario's extremely strong, very brave. I salute you, sir. Thank you, Libra fraudster. Could all be scripted. Best website. That's why I think we need to. Yeah, we should be hopeful, but not too hopeful, maybe, and keep stacking. That's the only way to be independent, be outside the banking system, because we know the banking system is fraudulent and it enslaves us. It sucks away, our labor and our capital. So yeah, we just need to be aware of our enemies, and we can still survive. Mickey, percentage wise, how much uh, more gold and silver do you own compared to crypto? I would say, 10 times more precious metals. I have a fairly good amount of cryptos, but nowhere compared to precious metals, because I think cryptos, uh, you know, have huge potential. So I don't need as much as I have. I think precious metals has potential as well, but it's more of a store value and a protection. And cryptos are more speculative. They will become more mainstream, I think, but it will take more time. Yeah, RR, that's right. Gold is stability, and you hold on to your wealth. That's right. The other thing about gold, I was thinking the other day, gold is not just something, insurance for us to safeguard our wealth. I think it's an instrument for freedom, and that's why it's so important that we get a gold standard, because and we need to wake people up to that, because it puts a straitjacket on the banking system and on politicians, so that they can't steal from the general public. I think it's really important. You can't have freedom, economic freedom, any kind of freedom without a commodity, money like gold and silver. And why is that? Well, because money in our modern economic system is like it's part of every transaction, because we have indirect exchange, we have division of labor, specialization. So we can't afford to let politicians and bankers control that. It has to be something, like gold. How are we going to get back to that? It just needs to, hopefully, they've corrupted the current fiat money system so much, and we all know it ends in disaster, that people will demand, honest, sound money in the future. But we'll see. So we got a few new guys here. Exotic Auto, I haven't seen you around. My family grew through collapse 1990 Moldova. My dad's account equaled cost 4 or 5 houses. After collapse, money change. He got a rug with almost nothing, lost everything. Well, that's right. That's why I recommend, gold and silver. The Marrakesh Agreement, I guess that's the UN agreement on immigration, right, or migration. Just me saying our Belgian government is about to fall because of that. I really hope it does fall. Yeah, I hope so too. Mary, have you seen that Russia has deployed bombers to Venezuela? Yeah, I saw that, and I saw the comment by Pompeo. He said, you know, what are the Russians doing? Sending bombers halfway around the world. And I thought that's the kettle calling the kettle black. You know, the U.S. has 190 bases all around the world. So why can't the Russians fly their bombers to Venezuela? You know, well, Americans are everywhere. They're in China, not China, but in Japan, Philippines, Europe. So yeah. What do I think about that, though? Well, some people think it's because Venezuela is concerned that uh, the U.S. wants to disrupt Venezuela, especially now with the new Brazilian president. He's going to be inaugurated the 1st of January. There's some speculation that he might help the U.S. You know, in Venezuela, a regime change there. So that could be the reason why the Russians are there. They're saying, don't mess with Venezuela because we're there. So that could be why. And that's maybe why Secretary of State Pompeo is so annoyed with the Russians. Tom Stewart, I support Christian Russia. Yeah, I think Russia is, you know, from what I've seen, Russia is a very nice country. Contrary to you know, the BBC and the Western prostitutes, as Gerald Celente calls the mainstream media. Andrew Skelton, crypto could deliver a free market globally and remove the middleman banksters. Yeah, I agree with you, Andrew. I agree with you. I think the you know, a lot of people reporting the end of cryptos, they're being premature. Marrakesh Agreement is a EU continuation of the Barcelona Agreement of '94. Is that about migration? I'm sorry, I don't know what the Barcelona Agreement is. I'm ignorant of that. Michael, VW11 gold is probably very concentrated on a relatively small group of people. So if we do get a gold back system, wouldn't that just shift the power to a small group of people? Not really, because if it becomes money again, you know, it will start circulating. You know, yeah, there are some people who have more of it, but I think in the long run it would start circulating, and yeah. I think, you know, central banks and sovereign governments, they've got about 30,000, 35,000 tons, but there's another 130,000 owned privately. And I'm sure there's some people that have a lot more than others, but I think it would still be a good thing. Rothschilds hold 500 tons. I don't know, Arch TV. Don't know how much they hold. I would say they might even hold more than that. James Andrew, 62, Canada has passed a law to criminalize posting gold. I saw the, you know, the section, is it section 5.2 from Canada Post? And it actually says that you can send bullion and stuff with the condition that you do an agreement with the post office. So I think you can send it, but I don't know what this condition is. You have to report it to the Canada Post, what you're sending and how much you're sending. I think, and if you do that, it's fine. So I think some people are making a big deal out of that. I'm not sure. And I guess you can always post it by a courier. You don't have to use Canada Post. Yeah, Andrew says the Barcelona Agreement is the inclusion of Middle East and African uh, into the EU via mass immigration. Yeah, yeah, that's because that's one of the ways. This Italian MP, she was talking about this Marrakesh agreement, and she was saying she's not against immigration, but she's just against this flood and uncontrolled immigration. So, Dr. Honeypot, how do you feel about JP Morgan asking the judge to hold off on the hearing for 6 months? The judge agreed. Sounds kind of crazy to me. And used time to get ready. What's that in relation to, Dr. Honeypot? Is that in relation to a case on COMEX? I'm not sure. You can mail coins, Arch TV. I think there is a. I read the section there, and it says it will be illegal unless you know you fill out the agreement with Canada Post. But I don't know what this agreement is. So I saw a video yesterday. A guy called forgot his name now. He was in Canada, and he said, "Oh yeah," and he read that section, but he left the unless. So he said, "Oh, it's illegal now," but it's not true. It's not illegal to post bullion with Canada Post. There is something that you can do for them to allow you to send it. Demon Pikachu. What do you think about the situation in the Ukraine? Well, the Ukraine has been run by the New World Order. That coup in 2014 was engineered by the Obama administration and NATO. So they're just trying to, you know, that's NATO, EU, and trying to build a base there, right in Russia's doorstep. That's why Putin's not happy about it. And even Trump said, I think, during the campaign that we've got no deal, no deal being in the Ukraine. Uh, Andrew Skelton, have you heard of the Coudenhove-Kalergi plan? Yeah, that name sounds familiar. Is that the plan for the European Union? I'm not sure. I've read about that before. The double barrel name is familiar to me. Dr. Honeywood, they had Old Trader come out and plead guilty to silver, gold, platinum manipulation for over 7 years. Yeah, I'm not sure why the judge is giving them time for that. Yeah, I think I read that a few months ago. This is not new news, I don't think. Trump, Putin, Xi are globalists. Well, so was Obama and Clinton. Not too sure about Trump. I don't know what the deal with that guy is. Paris riots, Annabelle Franks. Hi, Annabelle. Yeah, I mean, the title of this live stream is France in 2018 like Poland in 1989? Collapse of the West imminent? Question mark. So what do I mean by that? Well, I think that the system we've had in the West since the 60s, of increasing welfare, fiat money, increasing debt, and then we had the crisis of '08. We had to issue even more debt. That's totally strangling the population. You know, we saved. The bankers were saved in '08, and this is the consequence of it. It's just a symptom of the unhappiness that's boiling under the surface, and that's what's. It's not only in Paris. I've read that a lot of the people that coming from to protest in Paris, they're from the small from outside Paris, smaller towns. So, and I think it could spread. So, hopefully, I know that a lot of people are hard up, and one of the things the protesters say is that they can't make ends meet, and of course, you want to earn more money. But I think people also need to realize in France and other parts of the world, but France in particular, because the government spending per GDP in France is like 52%. It's the one of the highest in the world. I think the French people, hopefully, they realize that they need less government. And I saw one of the demands from one of the yellow vests was for that government spending to drop from 52% to 25, and that's a good thing. Whether they'll succeed in getting rid of the establishment now and President Macron remains to be seen. I don't think it. He's come out with some giveaways. 100 euros extra a month for the minimum wage. Things have kind of settled down now, but I don't think it's over yet. And I think it's genuine as well, Annabelle. I've watched a lot of the live stream by Luke Rodowski from We Are Change, and it looks to me, genuine. But of course, you can never tell. Yeah, Andrew. Yeah, that plan. I forgot those guys' name. What's it called again? Chudenhove-Kalergi plan. Yeah, that's the plan to homogenize the European people into low IQ, dumbed down, tolerant race. Kalergi was one of the founders of the EU in the 30s. Yeah, that's the New World Order plan, I would say. And the thing is, if you talk about that, Andrew, they call you a racist, but it's not got nothing to do with race. It's just different cultures, mixing cultures that are not really completely different, you know? Just me. Last week, we also had some riots in south of Belgium from Yellow Vests. Yeah, I heard we had some in France as well. Yeah, none says, "Boy, can your dog sleep?" He sleeps a lot. I even Googled the other day, why do dogs sleep so much? It's apparently because, unlike humans, we go to sleep, wake up, stay awake during the day and go to sleep again. Dogs can just go to sleep, and then if you call them, to go for a walk, they'll wake up, come back, and go to sleep. That's the way they are. Billy, say hi to everyone, Billy. There he is. But he likes to sleep. He's gone back. Yeah, Lord Humongous, Deutsche Bank, Commerzbank mergers, the debt cap, pump and dump. You're right. Sleepy dog. Annabelle asks, wonder if the riots will continue in France this weekend or may have peaked. I mean, from the last I read was that they're going to have an Act 5, they're calling it. So I guess what's happened in Strasbourg is kind of taking a little bit of the attention away from that. Some people even argue that might have been a false flag just to do that. No, David, I don't own any platinum or palladium. I've seen that palladium is actually recently was traded higher than gold. I'm not sure where it is right now. Lord Humongous, what's up with Glint? Yeah, I have spoken to them. It's they're working out the payment system in the US. So, I think you can, yeah, that's what's happening in the UK and in the EU. We've got the glint card. In the US, it's taking longer than they thought. That's all I can say right now. But they're working on it. And I'm in touch with the guys there. They're still, Oh yeah, and the thing about Glint, one of the guys who's behind the Glint project is Steve Baker. The MP, the British UK MP. Uh, that's a proponent of sound money, and there's apparently other politicians that are involved. Uh, well, they're involved, investing in the company. Andrew Skelton says the yellow vests are active, blocking roads and tolls across France daily. What happens in Paris is a sideshow. Yeah, I mean, I've seen some videos on YouTube. They're everywhere in France, Alsace and other parts of France. Oh yeah, I've got a few coins on my desk. I always have coins on my desk, and I've got some quarters as well, silver quarters, and a few gold coins as well. Yeah, it sounds completely different than the coins we have nowadays. Hi, Ann Holman. Glint is basically a debit card that allows you to spend gold. They're based in the UK. It's called Glint, glintpay.com. And they store your gold in Switzerland. It's insured and it's under it's in a vault, private vault under Zurich Airport. So I've got a Glint card. I personally prefer physical gold, but this is an alternative. You can actually, it could become money. The way it could be the solution to using gold as money. Here's my card. I'm covering the number. There's my. It's a Mastercard. So yeah, and they are coming to the U.S. They're still sorting out, uh, the U.S. Side of the business. I think in the U.S. they will have silver. In the U.K. we don't have silver yet because of the VAT here, but they are lobbying. Glint in the U.K. is lobbying the inland revenue, the tax people here to you know, to change that rule, that VAT rule. Yeah, Lord Humongous, as I just said, Glint, they are coming to the US, but right now they're still working out the payment system with their card providers for the US, so it's taking longer than they thought. I was in contact with the guy from Glint this weekend. They're working on it. Yes, and I was at, they contacted me a couple of months ago, Glint, and I went to their offices and I met with several people there. When we talked, we talked for over an hour, and I actually can vouch for them. I think they're, legitimate, and they, they knew about my channel. We talked about the same things about the monetary system, and a lot of those guys used to work in the city, like me, in the city of London. But they realized that the system is broken and that gold is the way forward. So I'm optimistic about Glint. Does that mean that I'm going to sell all my physical gold and then buy gold from Glint and leave it there? No, I like having the physical gold, but it's an alternative. That to have some gold that you can spend, and some gold. And I've used I went abroad in the beginning of November to Spain, and I used my glint card in Spain. So you can spend gold anywhere in the world. All right, guys, another 5 minutes, and then I'm gonna call it a day. We've been on for over, well, almost an hour and a half. It's a long, long live stream. So I'll take a few more questions. Yeah, that's right, Mikio. You only need to notify them, so it's not really illegal. XAUGBP to the moon. Well, yeah, I've got it's come back down a little bit today because the pound rallied, but we're very close to important trend line. It comes in around 1,005, 1,006. If we can close above that trend line for the year, it will be very positive. Chad Michael Harding, do you like London? Yup. Are you asking me a question, or I'm not sure what that means? If I like London? Yeah, I do. If I wouldn't be living here for the last 26 years, if I didn't. And what do you mean by London? London is not just the city of London, it's the outskirts. Another few minutes. Is Bitcoin gold? No. Warning signs says, thank you for all your research. Oh, you're welcome. Any of you who might be new to the channel, make sure, if you like what I talk about in the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Also, if you enjoyed this live stream, make sure you give me a thumbs up. Yeah, Richard, Glint is 100% backed by gold. They do not lend their gold. It's just it's like a deposit bank, 100%. Oh, it's Gary DiPietro has video of Bush Requiem. I must see. The other thing, I was talking to my wife today because uh, George Bush Sr. hated broccoli. So we were saying, the best place, if he's in hell, he should be only given broccoli to eat. That would be like the best thing they could do for him. You're welcome, Andrew. I'll talk to you later. Mikio, do you think Hillary Clinton will be indicted soon? I'm not holding my breath. It would be good, though. Anti-world gold is the best investment in the future? Question mark. You should look at gold more as a, savings instrument. As something not to something to protect your savings outside the system. It holds its value over time. It's not something that you buy to like Apple stock, a speculation. That's how you should look at gold. All right, everyone. Thank you for the participation and your presence in the live stream. Wish you all a great rest of the day, whatever, or the evening, wherever you may be. And I'll talk to you guys later. Take care. Bye.